So, welcome you all again in the lecture of IC engine fuel and lubricants. Today's contents is classification and properties of fuels, concept of combustion, solid fuel, analysis of coal, problem on proximate analysis, problem on ultimate analysis and liquid fuels. So, first of all we should know what is fuel. We all know that fuel is a source of energy. It may be solid fuel, it may be liquid fuel, it may be gaseous fuel, and where we use what is the source of the energy, how it is used. So, your fuel when burnt produces heat and it is used in heat engines. Heat engines may be internal heat engines and external heat engines. External heat engines like power plants, internal heat engines like automobile vehicles, CI or SI engine. So, fuel when burnt produces heat. Fuel must necessarily contain one or several of combustible elements, carbon, hydrogen and sulfur, etc. So, fuel is that which is able to combust it, and it has its own components, like it is having carbon, it is having hydrogen, it is having sulfur, it is having oxygen, it is having nitrogen and other small amount components. So, it is these components are responsible to get combusted. So, in the process of combustion, the chemical energy of fuel is converted into heat energy. So, combustion is totally an exothermic process. If you burn something, if you combust something, it will give you a huge amount of energy. So, that is known as exothermic process. The knowledge of fuel properties helps in selecting the right fuel for the right purpose and for the efficient use of the fuel. Laboratory tests are generally used for assessing the nature and quality of the fuel. So, quality of the fuels is a very important criteria for selection of the fuels, because where we we want to use that fuel. So, either that fuel is used in power plant, so you can use solid fuel. If you want to use the fuel in a SI or CI engine, it is liquid or gaseous fuel. So, it depends on that, and also not only that you are using only liquid fuels just over, it is nothing like that. It is having certain properties as per the prime mover requirement. So, laboratory tests are undergone and they help us to assess the nature and quality of the fuels. So, energy from the sun is converted into chemical energy by the photosynthesis. So, how this fuel is formed? So, you know that the primary source of energy for all of us is the sun, and that from the sun we are having by the photosynthesis we get some energy, and that energy is utilized for the plants, and when the plants are buried for a long time, they act as a fossils, and they are known as when burned after 1,000 years of burning, after thousands years of buried in the earth crust somewhere, it get converted into the fossil fuels. The fuel can be classified into three types, mainly liquid, solid and gaseous, on the basis of their physical states. So, these are the representation of the diagrams where we use, you all know that we talk about an engine. So, it is having its own process, intake, compression, power and exhaust process, and the other one picture is for the using the CNG for an engine. So, first one is for liquid fuel and second one is for gaseous fuel. So, the classification of fuel and properties of fuels, this slide is basically you are able to, we are able to tell you that how the fuel can be classified. It is classified as solid fuel, liquid and gaseous fuel. You can see solid fuel, the fuel comes in this categories are coal, coke, cow dung, wood, agriculture waste. In this, the coal is the it is the conventional source of energy, as well as coke is a conventional source of energy, and the cow dung, wood, agriculture, these are the renewable ones. And the liquid fuel, gasoline, you can gasoline or petrol or the diesel, kerosene, ethers, ethanol and LNG, liquefied natural gas. These are the liquid fuels, and the gaseous fuels, compressed natural gas CNG, liquid petroleum gas LPG, water gas, biogas, producer gas. They all come into the category of gaseous fuel. So, the physical state define the type of that fuel, and that fuel can be used in the gas turbines, and this shows the how the fuels burn. It shows the flame of the burning the fuel, because if you burn a fuel, the flame will be there, and these are the pictures for the flames, because the flame is having its temperature in different range. Suppose you are burning a gaseous fuel like in gas stove, then the flame will be generated, and that flame is not having the uniform temperature. The temperature throughout the flame varies, and how it varies you can see from here. Suppose this is the injector from which the flame is coming, and so you can see that some regions are red, some regions are violet, some regions are green. So, they are showing different temperature regions. Suppose this is blue region, so blue region shows 1600 Kelvin. This is somewhere somewhat yellow, so it is 825 Kelvin, and here you can see the red color. It is the indication that this is having the highest temperature, and you know that if you burn something, there will be energy formed. You can convert that energy into useful form, and other than this, you will earn something. It is emissions. We have discussed in last few lectures that what is the emissions, how you can measure that emission, how they are controlled. So, these emissions are depending upon the nature of the fuel, that it is having its how much amount of carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen and oxygen and sulfur. So, depend on that the products of combustion, because if you combust something, so it will give you oxides, maybe monoxides or dioxides, and there is steam and also other particulate matters, soot. These are also formed due to the combustion. So, you can see here after the flame generation, there are some gases are also emitting. These are the exhaust components found in the concentration. These are nitrogen oxide, hydrocarbons. These are unburnt hydrocarbon, in fact carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon particulate matter, and the major exhaust constituents. These are the some maybe in a smaller amount, but the major components are carbon dioxide, CO2, steam or water in gaseous phase, nitrogen, oxygen, because you are combusted in the presence of air. So, this is the formula for hydrocarbon, maybe diesel fuel CNHN or something else, and the conversion, this is the conversion, and that is also called complete oxidation. If you say the complete oxidation, then there will be only carbon dioxide, no carbon monoxide. So, it is a very difficult process to have complete combustion, and it is possible if you properly design its combustion space and its temperature at pressure, where it types of fuels, all these things it defines, it clarifies how the this combustion can be combustion efficiency can be achieved maximum. So, the classification and properties of the fuel. So, how you classify the fuel, and what are the criteria for properties of the fuels? These are the certain characteristics which should be for the these are the mandatory conditions for the fuels. These are high energy density. High energy density means it should have it should carry more amount of energy. You can say that high energy density as its a calorific value. So, the fuel which you are using in any type of prime mover, either internal or external or somewhere else, so that should have maximum amount of energy. So, high energy density is the first criteria for the fuels to select for utilization in any engine. Then good combustion qualities, it is very important. So, good combustion quality means maximum amount of fuel should be burned without giving or less amount of emissions. So, good combustion quality is necessary. After burning of the fuel, you are able to convert whole carbon into carbon dioxide, whole hydrogen into steam, and there should be maximum amount of heat should be generated, and also that emissions should be very low, that it is called good combustion qualities. So, high thermal stability. So, high thermal stability, once you start the combustion, it carries uniformly. It should not this type of thing that you start combustion and it stops and again start, you have to start. So, it should have some uniform burning type. So, high thermal stability and low deposit forming tendencies if you are using your fuel, just like there in CI engine or SI engine, that combustion takes place in combustion chamber and it is burned. So, after burning there will be some products will be formed, deposits will be formed, and the deposit form should be at low as possible. Otherwise, what will happen? The components of the engine will be get choked, and the performance and maintenance will be required. Performance will be deteriorated, and compatible with the heat engines. Fuel should be compatible. That means that you can not use petrol in the diesel engine and put diesel in the petrol engine. There should be some compatibility, that fuel is designed for particular type of engine. So, the compatibility with heat engines and good fire safety, should be safe to use, low toxicity, it should not be poisonous, and low pollution emitting, and easy to handle, because some source is at any place and the user is at another place. So, between the source and the user there should be handling, and that handling should be easy to transport and easy to carry, easy to store. So, all these things, these are the criteria for utilization of the fuels. Now, the next topic is concept of combustion. So, you already read what is combustion. Combustion is a complete oxidation process, and it is an exothermic process, and energy is released in when the combustion is occurred. So, you can see here that this combustion chamber is designed here in this diagram, and you know that for combustion two things are needed, or in fact three things are needed. First thing is fuel. Fuel means either solid, liquid or gas. It means it is a combination of different hydrocarbons. So, it is needed. Then air is required. A space is required at a particular temperature and pressure, and maybe catalyst we also use, but they are not used usually. So, if you particular pressure and temperature condition, if you supply air to a hydrocarbon and ignite it, ignition is required. So, you can see from this slide that butane having the formula C4H10 is entering from this. These are the reactants, and air is you know that it is a combination of oxygen and nitrogen. So, if you see that by volume composition, it is 77% nitrogen, remaining oxygen. So, if you see the molar concentration, it is air is O2 plus 3.76 N2, and the products will be formed like this. So, theoretical air required. So, we need complete combustion, means the fuel available should be completely combusted. So, C4H10, we will write a formula C4H10 plus Z O2 plus 3.76 A2 A B C, because these are we need complete combustion. Complete combustion means the carbon present in the hydrocarbon completely converted into carbon dioxide, and H present into H2O, and remaining nitrogen will be there. So, we will first of all we will balance this equation, equating the coefficient A, B, C, D by seeing the molar atomic arrangement. We will balance this equation. So, final equation will come out C4H10 plus 6.5 O2 plus 3.76 N2 4 CO2 plus 5 H2O plus 24.4 N2. Now, the theoretical air fuel ratio. Theoretical air fuel ratio, or you can say that stoichiometric air fuel ratio or chemically correct air fuel ratio. It means that it is the exact amount of air required for the complete combustion of fuel. So, it is the mass of air upon mass of fuel. So, mass of air we will evaluate from the molar analysis. It is mass of air, it is 6.5, it is its molar concentration 6.5 into it's because this is the 29 is the molecular weight of the it is the molecular weight of the air. So, 4.6.5 into 29 upon, and this is 4.76 is the we have summed this 3.76 plus 1 1 mole 1 mole of O2, that will 4.76. So, 4.76 into 6.5, this is 6.5 into 29 is the molecular weight of air upon, because it is having only 1 mole. So, 1 into its molecular weight, 4 into 12 is the atomic weight of carbon plus 10 into 1. So, it comes out 15.5. So, 15.5 is the chemically correct air fuel ratio for the combustion of the reactants C4H10. Now, suppose 50% excess air 150 is provided to you, because it is a very ideal thing that you are just giving the exact amount of air. It depends of it is very theoretical, that is why it is theoretical. So, for the safety that your fuel burned completely, we use 50% excess air. So, 50 or 10%, 20% as per your requirement you use. So, suppose in this problem we are using 50% excess air. So, again you will balance the equation C4H10 plus, because you are using 50% more of this is the theoretical air required. So, 1.5, that it will be 1.5 into 4 CO2. Now, it similarly you will balance here. So, it is 4 CH2 plus 5 H2 plus you will see that oxygen number of moles oxygen will be released, and these are the number of moles of nitrogen. Now, the 50% excess fuel air, you can from here see that it is 9 if you multiply 1.5 into 6.5, it will 9.75 into 4.76, 3.76 plus 1 into 29 is the molecular weight of air upon this is the similar as like this. So, 1 into 10. So, this is the air fuel ratio for 50% air fuel ratio. Suppose you are asked to send air 50% excess, then air fuel ratio required is 23.2 kilogram air per kilogram of fuel. So, you can see in this side that for the this is for problem for butane. Now, methane. So, for methane how much energy is released, suppose it is a very basic calculation for calorific value, because calorific value is the energy released during the combustion of 1 kg of the fuel. So, if we talk about the methane, so this is the energy input needed to break bonds. So, we have to break the bonds. So, the energy released this side, and this is the energy released on forming the bonds. So, exothermic process and endothermic process. So, delta H represents the summation of energy of bonds broken minus summation of energy bonds made. So, oxidation of hydrogen 2H2 plus O2 methane oxidation is like this. So, therefore, delta H is equal to summation of bond broken minus summation of bonds forms. So, these are the values which you can see from the tables, standard values. So, for HH atom to be break this much amount of energy is utilized, because here is two molecules of hydrogen. So, it will be this much amount. Similarly, oxygen this much amount, these are the standard values for a particular pressure and temperature conditions also. And H2O, so H2O you are seeing that here is required 460, so 1840 it is required. So, now you will apply this equation, and you are able to find that this much amount of energy is released when this reactions occur. Now, the concept of combustion for reactants, similar, this process is similar, just like that for butane. Here the reactant is propane, it is only for your exercise, you can see from here propane C3H8. Similar equation we will write here for 1.61 excess air, it will be written like this, and you can evaluate the air fuel ratio. And similarly, number of carbons moles of carbon dioxide formed is equal to 3. Number of total it is N is equal to total products formed, moles of totals formed. So, you will add 3 plus 4 plus 0.61 into how much is 5 plus 1.61 3.7 into Z. So, you will, if you total it, so number of moles equal to 40.32. So, from suppose you are asked in the problem how much percentage of CO2 will be formed. So, percentage by volume Avogadro hypothesis, you can all know that. So, percentage of volume fraction of CO2 is equal to upon total volume. Suppose these are the gases which are exhausted in the combustion product, and you are asked how much volume of carbon dioxide is produced due to the combustion. If you go for the 61 excess of air, so you can go for the molar analysis. So, V CO2 upon V total is equal to number of moles of CO2 upon number of moles total formed. So, 3 is the number of moles of CO2 formed upon total number. So, it is 7.4%. So, 7.4% will be the percentage of carbon dioxide formed in the product. Similarly, you can find the percentage of NH2O forms, because NH2O form is 4, so 4 upon total. So, it comes out is equal to, because it is calculated by the partial pressure law. So, from this equation you can find out its pressure also from Avogadro hypothesis, and with the help of this pressure from the steam table you can find the dew point. In the steam table for the wet steam you can find the dew point, 5.8 degrees Celsius is the dew point. Now, come to the first classification of the fuel, it is solid fuel. So, coal is classified into 3 major types: anthracite, bituminous and ignite. So, there is no clear demarcation between them. Coal is further classified as semi-anthracite, semi-bituminous and sub-bituminous. Anthracite is the oldest coal from a geological perspective. It is hard coal composed mainly of carbon with the little volatile content, particularly no moisture. So, coal is having its own property. It is solid. First of all, it is solid fuel, and it have some component. It is extracted from ores, and you can convert coal into coke with some processes, and where it is used in thermal power plants, from steel making power plants. So, it is a utilization of that fuel, and it is having its calorific value which is much lower than the petrol and diesel. So, now the analysis of the coal is required, lab tests are required for the how much coal which is found from different sources is having, because coal is having its moisture, volatile components, its carbon component, hydrogen component. So, on the basis of that two methods are there to analyze coal. First is ultimate analysis, and second one is the proximate analysis. So, the ultimate analysis determines all coal components element, means solid or gaseous, and the proximate analysis determines only the fixed carbon, volatile matter, moisture and ash percentage. This is the difference between ultimate and proximate analysis. The ultimate analysis is determined and a property equipped laboratory by a skilled chemist. So, this is all about the analysis of coal. It is having its sulfur components. So, these are the formulae for proximate analysis. Fixed carbon, you can evaluate the fixed carbon as this formula, percentage of moisture. So, these are the formulae, you all aware of these formula. These are the 12th it is available in the 12th course. This is the ultimate analysis, and these are the analysis of different coal. So, this is carbon hydrogen methods is there to evaluate the analysis of coal. Another method, because this is not in your course, only the liquid fuels are in your course. So, I am just seeing all these things, analysis of coals, percentage of carbon, percentage of hydrogen, this can be calculated with the help of this formula. And the sulfur, this is method for analysis of sulfur, this method is for analysis of nitrogen, Then these are the problem of some proximate analysis. You, with the help of these formula, you can evaluate. Percentage of moisture is given, and if you dry basis, you minus this, and you can use this formula 100 minus moisture. This is comes out. This may be dry ash free also. So this formula is for dry ash percentage of volatile metal upon 100 minus moisture plus percentage of ash. Similarly, you can evaluate dry mineral matter free basis. Similarly, the problem on ultimate analysis, you can go for it. Percentage of moisture is equal to percentage of hydrogen plus 2 by 18 percentage of moisture, percentage of oxygen moisture equal to percentage of oxygen plus 16 by 18 moisture. So this is the liquid fuels, and liquid fuels is having its own properties, and these are the how this are identified, because density, it is having density, specific gravity, viscosity, flash points, pour point. These are the properties, physical properties of the fuels. Specific heat. So specific heat is the amount of calories needed to raise the temperature of 1 kg of oil by 1 degree Celsius. The unit of sorry the unit of specific heat is kilocalorie per kilogram degree Celsius. It varies from 0.22 to 0.28 depending on the oil specific gravity. The specific heat determines how much steam or electrical energy it takes to heat the oil to a desired temperature. These are the first criteria is the calorific value. In next lecture we will describe this in detail. So you can see from the calorific value, what is calorific value? It is measured amount how the fuel having its energy density, gross calorific value, net calorific value, what is the relation between them. We will discuss these in detail, and we will do some exercises on evaluation of calorific value, because the calorific value is the a very important parameter for evaluating the properties of the fuel. So in the next lecture we will discuss these things. These are the liquid fuels having diesel fuel. You can see from here that different fuel is having different calorific value, and you can see here from that the carbon this coal is having very less calorific value as compared to the petrol and diesel. So in next lecture we will discuss the calorific value, and we will do some exercise on that, and we will start the classification of liquid fuels. So thank you so much for this lecture. In this lecture we have described what is fuel, its classification, and we have focuses the analysis for the solid fuels. In next lecture we will go for this liquid fuels. Thank you so much.